Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into something really fascinating in modern web design. It's this ongoing challenge, isn't it? How do we make web experiences feel, well, more dimensional, more immersive, draw you in?
Yeah, but without killing performance or just like confusing people.
Exactly. It's a really fine line. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Right. And for this deep dive, we're looking at a really cool approach, taking something super common like a UI card, we see them everywhere,
Yeah.
right?
Standard stuff?
And just completely transforming it, making it an interactive 3D scene. Right there.
Wow.
And it's not just, a bit of animation flair. This is about actual spatial storytelling embedding depth.
And we're basing this on Franco Beltramella's guide from Codrops, Building Interactive 3D Cards in Webflow with Three.js. So, our mission today, break down the tools, the techniques, the clever thinking behind it, and figure out what it means for you, whether you're designing or developing.
So let's start at the beginning. Where did this idea even come from?
Beltramella apparently was always interested in finding ways to add depth.
Yeah, not just visually, but through interaction, through space itself.
Right. It sounds like his thing is taking everyday ideas and giving them this immersive twist, mixing like futuristic vibes with familiar stuff.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is how it started. Super simple. A mood board, just collecting visuals. He likes space themes, minimal layouts, everyday things from a fresh angle, that kind of thing.
Standard design process so far.
But then he picked a few images from the mood board and used an AI tool to turn them directly into 3D models, GLB format.
Really? How did that turn out?
His words were surprisingly good, like abstract, textured, lots of character. Which is pretty amazing, right? It shows how AI is making 3D way more accessible for designers. Just boom, image to model.
That really is a game changer. An instant starting point for 3D. So from those AI models came this core idea, flat to deep. And let's be clear, this isn't just faking depth with shadows or animation.
No, not at all.
His idea was for the flat card to actually reveal a hidden spatial layer. Using real 3D geometry, real lighting, camera moves.
Exactly. It's a fundamental shift. You're not just looking at a card. You're kind of peering through a window.
A portal, almost.
Yeah, into this little 3D world inside the card.
That's a totally different way to think about UI depth.
It really is, because usually depth is an illusion, right?
Yeah.
Shadows, gradients, maybe some parallax.
Smoke and mirrors.
But this flat to deep idea introduces actual volume, real space.
And what does that mean for the user experience?
Well, potentially a lot. It's not just richer visually. It could change how people engage with content. Imagine a product card where you can actually peek inside a virtual scene related to it.
Or like a news card that shows a little 3D diorama of the story.
Exactly. Could mean users stick around longer, maybe a more memorable brand feel. You could even visualize data differently, inhabit it almost.
Giving digital info more tangible feel.
That's a good way to put it, more tactile.
Okay, so the vision is compelling. Flat cards become deep, interactive scenes. But how? What's the tech stack? The magic ingredients?
Well, it boils down to this kind of perfect trio he used. Webflow, Three.js, and GLB models.
Right. Let's quickly break those down for anyone maybe not super familiar with all three. Webflow, that's the visual web development platform, right? Great for designers building layouts without code, mostly.
Yep. Handles the structure, the responsiveness, all that front-end layout stuff visually.
Then Three.js?
That's your JavaScript library for doing 3D in the browser. It just makes handling all the complex WebGL stuff much, much easier.
So the engine for the 3D part.
Exactly. And GLB.
That's the file format for the 3D models themselves.
Precisely. It's super efficient for the web because it bundles everything, the model shape, the textures, materials, into one single file. Easy to load.
Got it. So Webflow for the stage, Three.js for the performance, GLB for the actors.
Nice analogy.
Yeah.
And the Webflow setup itself is, well, surprisingly simple. The article just describes a basic Flexbox structure. You have a wrapper, and inside, 3 cards, standard Webflow practice.
Yeah.
But the key thing is, inside each card, there's a specific div element.
And that div is important because
that's the mounting point. That's where the Three.js scene gets injected, where the 3D object will actually appear. It's the canvas for the 3D.
Ah, clever. So you're using Webflow's standard layout tools to create the container for this advanced 3D element.
Exactly. Leveraging a familiar tool for something pretty novel.
Okay, so Webflow sets the stage. What about those GLB models? The actors. You mentioned they came from AI initially, but they needed polishing, right? How are they prepped to look so, well, atmospheric?
Right. They didn't just use the raw AI output. That prep happened in Blender, the open source 3D software. And Beltramella did something pretty smart there. He added a surrounding sphere to each model.
A sphere. Why?
Think of it like giving each object its own little dome, its own mini environment.
Okay.
Functionally, it created this nice depth, some subtle background contrast. It makes the object feel enclosed, like it exists in its own space.
Creates atmosphere.
Totally.
Yeah.
And lighting was, well, obviously super important, especially with reflective materials.
Hmm?
He used specific highlights and soft shadows. The goal was this subtle, futuristic glow. A bit cyberpunk maybe, but soft.
Right.
Yeah, the whole point was making each model feel like it really lives inside its own ambient environment, even in that small card space. Details matter.
So much attention to detail. And then the 3.js part. This is where it really comes alive, right?
Yep.
Taking those prep Blender files and making them interactive.
Exactly. Here's where it gets really interesting. Because each card container becomes its own, like, self-contained 3D scene, they're initialized separately using this custom JavaScript function, createScene.
One function call per card.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which is great for keeping things organized and performant.
Okay, so walk us through that createScene function. What are the key steps inside?
Sure. So first, it kicks off by creating a 3 scene. That's your basic container for everything 3D. And he sets the background to that dark gray color, 0x20, 2020. Helps the lighting pop.
Right, makes the object stand out.
Then the camera. A 3-perspective camera. This mimics how we see depth. It needs settings like field of view, 45 degrees here, aspect ratio to match the container, and clipping planes, basically, how near and far things are visible.
Standard camera setup.
Mostly, yeah. But he does something neat. He offsets the camera slightly, like to position 200. So you're not looking straight on initially. It's a more dynamic view.
Okay, adds a bit of interest from the start.
Exactly. Next, the 3WebGL renderer. That's the component that actually draws the scene onto the screen. Its output, the DOM element, which is an HTML canvas, gets added directly into that special div inside the Webflow card.
Seamless integration.
Then lighting, it's a mix. There's a directional light. Think of it like a spotlight, casting strong highlights and shadows from a specific angle, and also an ambient light. This provides softer, general light, so nothing's completely black in the shadows.
Gives it that balanced, futuristic glow.
Precisely. Now, for interaction, he uses orbit controls. It's a Three.js helper that lets users rotate the object with their mouse.
But he restricted it.
Yeah, good point. He disabled zoom and pan, so you can only rotate.
It is simple.
And he locked the vertical rotation, too, so only horizontal orbiting. Plus, enable damping is on, which makes the rotation feel really smooth and natural, not jerky.
Nice touch. Focuses the interaction.
Then you need to load the models themselves. That's done with the GLTFLoader for those .glb files. It loads them asynchronously, which is important for performance.
So the page doesn't freeze while loading.
Exactly. And responsiveness is built in too. There's code to listen for the browser window resizing. If you resize, it updates the camera's aspect ratio and the renderer's size so the 3D scene adapts properly.
Crucial for modern web design.
Absolutely. And finally, there's the animate function. This uses request animation frame to create a loop that constantly re-renders the scene and updates the controls. That's what makes it smooth and interactive.
Wow, okay. That's quite a detailed breakdown, but it really shows the layers involved in making this work so elegantly. And like you said, the modularity stands out. Each card is its own little Three.js universe.
Yeah, it's clean, lightweight, manageable.
So what does this all mean for someone actually building in Webflow day to day? Let's bring it back to the practical application. How do you do this?
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture for Webflow users, the practical steps are pretty straightforward, conceptually at least. You'd set up your cards in Webflow, maybe give those special div containers unique classes like .div, .div2, .div3 as in the article, or maybe more descriptive names.
Oh, yeah, the placeholders.
Exactly. Then you take that whole JavaScript module, the createScene function, the 3.js setup, everything, and embed it. Usually using a script type module tag. You can put this in the page settings before the closing body tag, or use a Webflow embed block.
And the result.
Interactive, scrollable 3D objects right there inside your Webflow layout. And as Beltramella points out, it's designed to be lightweight and performance-friendly.
Sounds fantastic. Almost.
Yeah.
Too easy. There's usually a catch, right? The important note for Webflow users.
Yeah. There's a wrinkle. This raises an important question about integrating advanced JavaScript like this. The catch is Webflow's Designer. The visual editor itself doesn't directly support ES module imports. That's the import keyword in JavaScript you use to pull in libraries like Three.js. Meaning you can't just paste that raw JavaScript code with import 3 from 3 into an embed block in the designer and see it work live while you're designing. It won't process those imports there.
So it works on the published site, but you don't get that live preview in the Webflow Designer.
Exactly. That's the main hurdle for a purely visual workflow within Webflow itself.
Okay, so how do people get around that?
There are basically two main ways, both involving a step outside the designer. One, host your JavaScript externally. You'd use a tool called a bundler like Vite or Parcel or Webpack. These tools process your code, handle the imports, and spit out a single optimized JavaScript file.
Right.
You host that file somewhere and just link to it from your Webflow site settings.
Okay, so Webflow just loads the pre-processed script.
Yep. The other option is similar. Bundle the JavaScript yourself, maybe manually or with a simpler tool, and then embed that entire bundled code as a single script type module block in your export site's code, or potentially in an embed block if the bundled code doesn't rely on further imports.
So it requires a bit more of a developer-focused workflow, using bundlers or handling exported code.
It does lean more towards that, yeah. It highlights that boundary where visual development meets more complex custom code integration.
Got it. Still achievable, but requires understanding that limitation and the workflow solutions.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. Seriously fascinating. We went from a simple mood board idea sparked by AI tools
Pretty cool start.
through prepping models in Blender, adding that atmospheric sphere,
The details.
all the way to the detailed Three.js engineering needed to bring those static models to life inside Webflow cards.
Turning flat cards into interactive scenes. That was the goal.
Using that trio, Webflow, Three.js, GLB models, a powerful combination.
It really shows how knowing your tools and combining them creatively can lead to something new. It reinforces that idea, that knowledge is great, but applying it, blending vision with execution, that's where the magic happens.
Definitely pushing boundaries.
Yeah, there's always more to explore, more to experiment with on the web. Absolutely. So for you listening, here's something to think about as you wrap up your coffee or continue your commute. How could you take this concept of spatial storytelling, of revealing a hidden 3D layer, and apply it elsewhere?
Beyond just cards?
Right. What other flat, everyday web elements could be transformed? A progress bar, an avatar, a navigation menu.
Oh, interesting.
Imagine the possibilities, the new ways you could engage users or tell a story. So keep experimenting, keep learning.
And keep building.
I'll catch you on the next deep dive.